Hello and welcome to Bad JuJu. My name's Mama Jules, and in today's case we're going to a city called Guarapuava in southern Brazil. The date is the 22nd of July 2018 and a couple are getting ready for a night out. The lady's name is Tatiane Spitzner and she's going out with her husband of 5 years, Luis Felipe Manvela. And what should be a normal, enjoyable night out ends up in a case of harrowing, distressing, brutal murder, which is all captured on CCTV images across the city. So without further ado, grab a tea or a coffee, get comfortable, and let's investigate the case of Tatiane Spitzner. So, are you sitting comfortably? Well, let's begin. Tatiane Spitzner was a 29-year-old lawyer. She was a very compassionate person who loved helping animals and other people. She was very outgoing and loved to go to music concerts and enjoyed spending time with her many friends and family. She had been married for 5 years to Luis Felipe Manvela, a 32-year-old jiu-jitsu expert and university lecturer. On the surface, the couple had it all, a picture-perfect life. They were a good-looking couple with promising careers ahead of them, and they should have been having the times of their lives. We can see lots of pictures of them together posted on social media, living the dream, or so it seemed. As is often the case, the life they carefully portrayed on social media was a million miles away from the reality. Tatiane's close friends reported that she frequently had bruises on her arms, but when they asked her about how she got them, she would just shrug it off and say she had bumped into something at home or at work, and then would change the subject. The reality was that her husband, Luis Manvela, was an incredibly controlling person who would take control of Tatiane's finances. He would cut up any of her clothes that he deemed to be too revealing. He would manipulate her, belittle her and call her vile names to try to lower her self-esteem. He would ignore her for days on end. Every single moment of the murder is captured on CCTV. Here, CCTV from the camera at the traffic lights show the car in the middle of the street after coming to a sudden stop. Something snaps between the couple and Luis can be seen slapping his wife several times across the face while she tries to fight him off. It turns out that Tatiane had confronted him about images of other women she had seen on his phone, and this was the catalyst for the argument. The next image shows them entering the underground car park of the apartment block where they live. Luis exits the car and walks around to the passenger side where he drags Tatiane from the car. He again physically assaults her and pushes her against the car. In this clip, we can see Tatiane hiding behind one of the pillars, and he finds her and she runs. She manages to get away, and as we see here, she tries to escape to the elevator. We can see Tatiane pushing the buttons in an attempt to close the elevator doors. She is once again physically assaulted and Manvela calmly presses the button. She tries to exit, he grabs her and she is forced back inside. They exit the elevator on the 5th floor and the couple then enter their apartment. What is not included on the CCTV is the 15 minutes the couple spend inside their apartment, where neighbours reportedly hear a woman screaming in a terrified voice, asking for help. The next image shows a woman's body hitting the pavement below the couple's 5th floor apartment. Luis appears twice more on elevator footage. The first time he is going downstairs, then a few minutes later he's back inside the elevator holding his wife's lifeless body. He's shown holding his head in despair and can be seen clearly wearing a blood-soaked shirt. Again, he returns to clean up traces of blood with what appears to be a tissue. He is no longer wearing the shirt from the previous images. When police respond to the neighbours' calls for help, they enter the apartment and find Tatiane's bloody, broken body inside on the floor. Lewis has gone, just disappeared. He was arrested on suspicion of murder after being found on the run 300 kilometres away from the city after crashing his car on a motorway. He claimed Tatiane had killed herself by jumping off the balcony whilst they were fighting. He fled the scene as he was too distressed by the images of his wife jumping to her death to stay. He said, "I just can't remember what happened. I'm in a state of shock." The distressing record of chilling events that led to Tatiane's brutal death gives a graphic insight into the abuse that she was suffering before she died. Husband psychological terror and husband verbal aggression had been found in her phone search history 7 months before her death. Close friends later revealed that Tatiane was afraid of Manvela and wanted a divorce, but was too afraid to seek one. She was so afraid of him. Tatiane's death caused a national outcry with a countrywide debate in Brazil. Hundreds of people dressed in white marched in Rio de Janeiro to mourn her loss and demand justice. Brazil has the 7th highest incidence of femicide in the world. The year before Tatiane's death, 1,133 women were killed at the hands of their partners. When the results of the autopsy arrived almost 2 months after Tatiane's death, things got even worse, if that's possible. They concluded that Tatiane had actually been strangled to death and had suffered horrific injuries at the hands of her husband. She'd been trying to fight him off. Louis Manvela's handprints were found around her throat and her hyoid bone had been fractured, indicating that she'd been strangled to death. Most of Tatiane's bones had been fractured as a result of the fall from the 5th floor apartment. But the investigators concluded that she hadn't died as a result of the fall due to the fact that she didn't have high levels of adrenaline and cortisol in her blood. And these two chemicals are released in fear. So if Tatiane knew she was going to be plummeting down 5 flights, you can bet she would have released these chemicals. So they concluded that she was dead before she hit the ground, thankfully. So the official report from the forensic investigator concluded that Tatiane was dead before she reached the pavement below the 5th floor apartment, that she was thrown over the balcony by her husband, that she'd already been strangled to death in the apartment. And then Louis Manvela went in the elevator down to the ground floor, retrieved her body from the pavement, brought it back up in the elevator and put it back in the apartment. And then he went on the run. Louis Felipe Manvela was arrested and charged with murder, incarceration of a victim and procedural fraud. And he's awaiting awaiting trial. He is incarcerated, obviously, but he's still awaiting trial. His trial's been put back twice now due to the coronavirus outbreak. And we don't know when the trial's going to take place, but as soon as I get any more information, I will surely update you all and let you know what happens to him. So that's all we have for today's case. Hope you enjoyed it, and please feel free to leave a comment below. If there's any other cases that you think we should cover and investigate together, please feel free to message those down below as well. And in the meantime, please all stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.